Hey guys, so today I want to make a Devil Jin tutorial and this video will be quite long. I don't know how long it will be, but I imagine around 1 hour at least. I'm going to go through Devil Jin's whole moveset, all his top moves, his punishment and a lot of further things, because I think the reason why I'm doing this tutorial is to educate Mishima players on why to play Devil Jin and how to play Devil Jin. Especially like what you actually do with these moves, because a lot of tutorials they tell you this move is good, but they don't really explain why those moves are good. So the structure will be like this. I will be talking a bit about Devil Jin, maybe if you want to pick him up, if it's the character for you, then I will be talking about his punishment and his basic moves, and his best moves of course. And then I will be going into detail about his Okizeme, how to apply pressure with Devil Jin, how to defend with Devil Jin, what is the mindset you should have when you play Mishimas, especially Devil Jin. And yes, also I will be shooting this video in one shot, so bear with me if I make some mistakes, because this will be most likely a 1 to 2 hour video and I have studies on my wayside, so I don't have time to edit this video for hours on end. But I organized this video and I hope it will go through very easily. So let's start out with what is Devil Jin. Okay, Devil Jin is a Mishima character. That means he has a lot of moves that he shares with Mishima-like characters. Stuff like the electric, 1-1-2, hit confirm. He has a wave dash, a hail sweep, a good 50-50. He has tsunami kicks, excellent punishment. So how do Mishimas, like, what is the difference between a regular character and a Mishima character? On one thing, all Mishimas have an emphasis on good punishment. Even Heihachi, one of the more offensively oriented characters, has excellent block standing punishment. So you'll have great punishment, 13 frames, 15 frames, 10 frames, I mean 11 frames. 1-1-2, great knockdown tool, 1-2-2, 1-2-4. A lot of very good punish moves. If you need something for long range, you have it. You name it. Punishment is one thing. The other thing is great movement. Mishimas are super fast because of their wave dash. Just look at it. See how quickly I can close distance to my opponent. Because of this wave dash, your movement is much faster. You can close up distance to your opponent, you can pressure him. But this is very execution heavy. I will come to crouch dash and execution in a bit. What else do Mishimas excel at? They excel at whiff punishment because they have this electric, which makes them able to whiff punish a lot of stuff. And another thing, especially with the electric, that is very good about Mishimas is they are very safe. Usually if you have a launcher, like for example Can, it is minus on block, very punishable, maybe even launch punishable, but the electric is not even, it's safe and it's +5 on block. But note that, and this is very important, and here comes the execution, if you hit an electric, and I will show you the difference. So this here is a Wind God Fist. You see, there are no sparks here. But if you do the correct input, which is forward, down, down, forward, you get an electric. The Mayman has a good electric Wind God Fist guide. I would recommend you to look up the guide. If you have like questions on how to execute this move, I will just assume that you know how to do it. If you don't know, as I said, the Mayman has a great guide. But I will explain a very important thing. If you... oh, sorry. Player one set. It is hard. I'm used to doing electric. Okay. Wind God Fist. I need just a Wind God Fist. Yes, exactly. So if you do a Wind God Fist instead of a electric Wind God Fist, it is punishable here. This is important to note. You can be very safe with Mishimas due to electrics, great poking, and generally moves that are very risk-free. So you can play them extremely safe, while being able to pressure people. This is one core strength of all Mishimas. So, and one last thing is Mishimas are very technical. You need a lot of good execution, and they take a lot of work compared to other characters when you start out. So I would only recommend picking up any Mishima if you have a lot of time, or you are the kind of person that's not frustrated if they pour a lot of time into the game and don't get results immediately. Just from my experience and from those of my friends, if you play a Mishima character because of the burden of execution, you will progress half as fast as other people would if they pick a character that is not focused on execution. So just be warned, it takes time, it takes a lot of work, but it is fun, and you will be rewarded, but you have to have the personality to play a Mishima character and not to worry about execution and like putting extra work into it. So now within the Mishima family, and the Mishimas are Devil Jin, Kazuya and Heihachi. How does Devil Jin differentiate himself from the other characters? On one hand we have Kazuya. Kazuya is more of a defensive style character. He has good punishment, one of the best punishes in the game with his 13 frames electric. All other electrics are 14 frames, but his is 13 frames. He has strong 50-50, but he lacks in poking, and his pressure tools are somewhat lackluster. On the other hand, we have Heihachi, which is the offensive Mishima. He has great mid, great pressure, but he lacks in while standing punishment. He has to crouch cancel to launch people from standing, or from while standing, from crouching position. So we have like the defensive style and the offensive style Mishima, and Devil Jin is a blend of both. I would say he plays more like Kazuya, but with good poking, and that's the difference. He doesn't have so many good lows as Kazuya. I mean, Devil Jin's health is strong, but in general I would say Kazuya's lows are stronger. And his counter hit tool, because Kazuya's down forward toe 2 is not safe on block, but it is great because it's a homing move, and you get, if you have great execution, counter it down forward to perfect electric, huge combo potential. But in general, Devil Jin can stay safer because he has better poking and a bit more aggressive than Kazuya. And compared to Heihachi, I think Heihachi differs quite a lot from Devil Jin, but of course he has more strings, he has better mids. So I would say Devil Jin is more like Kazuya, but in a way that he is more well-rounded and has better pokes and a better throw game. So if you play Kazuya and you're frustrated because you like to poke more, you could try pick up Devil Jin and he might really suit you. This was the case for me, for example. I used to main Kazuya, but I was very frustrated because I wanted to expand on my poking and try different poking strats, and so I came to play Devil Jin and I fell in love with the character. So what is a general playstyle with Devil Jin? It really depends, and this is the great thing that separates him from Kazuya, for beginners, especially from me, is Kazuya's playstyle is you either try to stay safe and with punish, or you force 50-50, and basically these are the two playstyles for Kazuya. But Devil Jin has a lot of good tools and great poking tools which allow him to have a couple of very varied playstyles based on player's choice and match situation. You can play him very 50-50 with his great hell sweep and whatever. So if you like to play Okizeme, you can play him that way. You can play him very pokey. You can play him very oppressive. Sorry. Come on. Yeah. Instant. He has great pressure tools. Let's set him on guard all. So if you want to pressure your opponent, you have great tools. When you record a video. What I'm trying to do is an instant while running free out of wave dash. Okay. It's only when you record videos, you know? Come on. Okay. Yeah, like that. I'll show you this trick. So if you want to input an instant... Oops, wrong country. Display settings. I will make room. So there is a trick to getting an instant while running with Devil Jin. You input a crouch dash and then up forward and simultaneously press 3. If you don't fuck it up like I do all the time at the moment. Yeah, like this. You see, crouch dash and then up forward 3 and you get the instant while running. I'm sitting a bit awkwardly, so it's a bit hard to do at the moment, but it's really not hard, trust me. If you're not recording a video, this should be quite easy compared to the other stuff he has. Yeah, like this. So because of his great pressure tools, he can be very oppressive, and you can play him very defensive because he has great wave punishment with his electric. He has great punishment in general. He can poke a lot while staying defensive. Great ranges on his low pokes. So you can basically play him in any way you like. You can even play him poke heavy and late frame terms, but I will be going over that in a couple of minutes. So now, like the hard stuff, execution. This is where most people probably have the biggest problem with Mishima characters. Because everybody loves 50-50, everybody loves strong characters, but to be able to play Mishimas, you have to have great execution. No matter what Mishima you play, if you want to play at the highest ranks. And with Devil Jin, in my experience, this is just my difficulty in my opinion concerning ranks. In low ranks, I think Kazuya is easier to play, and Heihachi is the easiest Mishima in low ranks to play because they don't need so much execution. In mid ranks, like somewhere from green ranks to orange ranks, all Mishimas are about the same difficulty wise, and in the highest levels of play, Kazuya is very hard to play because he has not many good tools, and you have to play very clever. And Heihachi and Devil Jin are around the same difficulty, but Devil Jin is not an easy character, because Devil Jin needs all the stuff other Mishimas need, like good mind games, good spacing, good punishment. You need to know all those frames to punish them. It's one of your greatest strengths. And his execution. I will just show a couple of moves that you should try to be able to do, and those are core moves you will be using very often when you go like above orange ranks, red ranks, okay? You should be able to do an electric. If you can do an electric, you should practice it. People will say Devil Jin does not need an electric, he has cans. But first, okay, for 15 frames punishment, you can use can, nothing wrong with that. But can is launch punishable, and the range is... It has short range, it is launch punishable, and you can use it to... You can stay safe and you can pressure with it. Whereas an electric, safe, it's plus on block, you can pressure with it, it has better range. Just to put it shortly, you need to play Devil Jin with an electric. If you don't play Devil Jin with electric, you may win, you may get to higher ranks, but you play a crippled Devil Jin. So if you don't know how to do an electric, you should learn how to do an electric. And your goal should be to at least be able to do one electric at first, when you start out with the character. Don't worry about 6 electric combos, don't style on people. You will never need more than 2 electrics in a row. Maybe if you want to pressure an opponent at the wall and you do 6 electrics, but it's very situational. And you really don't need to learn electrics to such a degree. I mean, I can do 5 electrics, but it's not useful. You just use it for styling on people and to practice your execution so that you have a good electric rate. So first things first, you need to learn how to do an electric with God Fist. You need to learn how to do a crouch dash, obviously to do an electric with God Fist. I will show you all moves that are dependent on a crouch dash, which means you have to do a crouch dash, and then you unlock this move. So first things first, what is a crouch dash? I will show you the command history. Make it a bit longer, okay. I want to have a clear... Oh always get a forward input when... Okay, nice. So, this last part here. Forward, neutral, down, down, forward. This is a crouch dash. This is the input you will need to do this stuff. Okay. You should learn how to do it. This is very important for all Mishimas and for Devil Jin. I will show you your options from a crouch dash and why you need it. First, to do an electric, you need a crouch dash. An electric is simply a crouch dash, but on the same frame you end with a down forward, you press 2. If you don't do it, you get a wind god fist. Oh, sorry. Like this. Another thing, a hell sweep is a crouch dash and then 4. Then you have crouch dash 3, which is a good mid launcher, but it is quite linear. Then you need a wave dash to as a crouch dash to wave dash, which is simply a crouch dash, but you cancel it with a forward input like this, and then you chain it over and over and over. This is quite execution heavy, but you eventually will need to learn how to do it. This is nothing you should be able to do in green ranks, but when you hit yellow or orange ranks, this is the time where you should be trying to master this technique. But this is a Mishima staple. What else? Okay, Devil Jin has, as all Mishimas, a sidestep problem. A lot of people will tell you, no, Devil Jin has perfect track. He does not. He has a bit better tracking, and by better I mean he can stay safer while hindering people from stepping him, but this needs execution from you. For example, what does he have to stop people from sidestepping all the time? His laser scraper, and this input can be quite difficult for people. I will show you the input. So the input is back, forward, and then 2, 1, 2. And you will at least you should do the first 2 hits on a regular basis to stop people from stepping you. This is because this move is safe in a mid. And I will come to this later, but all Mishimas have a great problem with mids because an electric is a high and a hell sweep is a low, so people like to duck. And if you have a homing move, because people want to evade your 50-50 by stepping, so they are more likely to duck on to step, and the best thing to have is a mid that keeps people from stepping, because it eliminates the duckers and the steppers, and your 50-50 becomes stronger. So this move is crucial for all Devil Jin players. And the input is a back forward 2 on 2 1 2. Yeah. This is a 15 frame move if you inputted it correctly, and the back forward movement can be a bit weird for people, but you have to master it, especially since it's one of his wall combos. Let's go to the wall. So this is also a wall combo of his. You should be able to do it. His throws are quite technical too, especially complicated wire, which is quarter circle backward 1+3, and the cool laser throw, yes. It's forward and then half circle forward 1+2. So these are quite technical as well compared to other characters, and you need to learn how to do them because you would be wasting his great throw game if you don't know how to do it. So this is also execution heavy. Then he has instant while standing, which is you do a crouch dash and then cancel during this animation with backwards and a move to get an instant while standing. For example, this. You see, it's the same as this. And you can use this, and I hope I can get it on camera. Sorry. Only when you record. Yeah, like this. So the reason you need to master this in higher ranks, I say about red rank, is people like to step, and instant, like while standing 2 from Devil Jin is not only his 15 frames punish, but it also tracks to his right. So when people sidestep left you, they get hit by this move. And this is the reason why you need those moves, but it's very hard to do. You need to do a crouch dash and then immediately cancel it with a back movement to get this This is hard, I'm still struggling a bit myself, but it's getting better. I'm just telling you, you will need this eventually, and this is very hard. And one core thing you need to be able to do as soon as possible, I'd say try to do it when you hit yellow or orange rank, is sidestep electric. This is one of the most important uses of electric, because an electric is a safe launcher. And when you step, most characters don't have like extremely safe launchers from a step, but Mishimas have electric, and if you are able to sidestep electric, you can launch crazy good. You can even launch with jabs. That's a great tool to have, but it's hard. Sidestep electric takes time. So now I've covered like the execution part, what is really necessary for a Mishima. Oh, the last part I forgot is, but this is true for most characters, but especially for Mishimas, you need to be able to Korean backdash just to create distance, you know what I mean? Oh. There are multiple ways of backdashing. I can do Korean backdash, this is good, but I like to do a crippled version, which gives me safer backdashing, especially in player 1 side. But just look up a guide for Korean backdashes. I don't know which device you're playing, stick, pad, it really depends, but movement is super important with Mishimas, which is backdashing, which is sidestepping, and of course wave dashing, as I mentioned. Super important. I mean, there are some characters in the game where you can get away with bad movement for a long time, but Mishimas are not part of this group. If you can't move with a Mishima, you're a bad Mishima. You should try to get a good movement as soon as possible. But now I'm finally finished with the execution part. So this is like, execution-wise, the hardest stuff you will need with Devil Jin, and if you're not willing to work on this, or if you think it's too frustrating, Mishimas, and especially Devil Jin, might not be for you. But it's not as hard as it sounds, it just takes time and a lot of practice. Apart from execution, what are core skills you need with Devil Jin? One core skill is 1-1. Don't spam 1-1-2 out. This move is hit confirmable, which means you do the first 2 hits and then you can react whether it was on hit or on block. And if it was on hit, you end the string. And I will show you the reason why this is so important. I tell you. The reason why it's so important is 1-1-2 on block is -17, so everybody can launch it. But it is inconfirmable, so this is one core skill you should be able to learn as fast as possible to hit confirm 1-1-2. Then I have written down here, good movement. You need good movement to play Mishimas. This is a core skill. Punishment in general. If you play a Mishima, especially Devil Jin is great at this. I think in some regards Devil Jin's punishment is even better and more varied than Kazuya's. Learn a lot of frames, know what is punishable. Punishment is one of the greatest strengths of Devil Jin. And it is a core skill for you to know what is punishable and to have this mindset where you quickly learn what is punishable, what not, test out things. And for example, if you play somebody and he spams a move, try to jab him. If it connects, maybe it is punishable. And if you jab and hit confirm, you can get great openings. So learning what is punishable and applying your punishment is a core skill for Devil Jin. Another core skill for Devil Jin is to have a good mindset. Good mind game. You need to be able to look at your opponent, see what he's doing, think how he's thinking, and then apply 50-50, apply keep out. This is super important and you will learn it on the way, but you should focus on it. If you have good mind games, your 50-50 is extremely strong because you can get into your opponent's head and always guess right and he will be frustrated as hell. And if you have good mind games, you know when he's cop kicking and then you punish it correctly. Mind games are super important, and mind games is this is not something you're born with. This is not a talent thing. It's a matter of actually minding your opponent and thinking how he's thinking and letting him make mistakes and, as people tend to say, kill himself by doing stupid mistakes. So put pressure on him, see how he reacts. For example, this move here is +3 on hit. Just do it and do nothing and see what he does. Does he press a button? Does he backdash? Does he do a power crush? If he presses buttons, do a while standing 4. If he doesn't stop pressing buttons, do a while standing 2. What I'm trying to say is mind games are very important, and it's a skill you can learn by having the right mindset, which is to look at what your opponent is doing and react accordingly. Now to the strengths and weaknesses of Devil Jin. Of course, he has great 50-50. He has up forward 4. If you have the execution, he has this out of way dash. He has strong 50-50. So as you see, we have a low and a mid option, which are both unreactable. So 50-50 means you have a 50-50% chance of guessing between a low or a mid. But just to be sure you understand this, this is just a type of saying. There is no real 50-50 here, except in a few select cases which I'll be talking soon. But the reason why there is no real 50-50 until you have great execution is because both of these options are steppable to the left. But if you have good execution and can instant while standing 2, you cover that option as well, so it becomes a true 50-50. Great stuff. There is still a way to counter this, which is sidestep right duck. If you do it fast enough and with good timing, this eliminates also both options. But this is technical. Just keep it simple. He has great 50-50. He has great punishment. I would say in some regards better than Kazuya, but Kazuya still has a lot of better tools like a 13 frames Electric Wind God Fist, and Kazuya can launch at 13 frames while standing, whereas Devil Jin only gets this, which is still a great 13 frame punishment. This not only knocks down, it also wall splats at the wall. Okay, he has excellent frames. A lot of his moves, like instant while running, come on, instant while running. Okay, one more chance. You get the idea. Instant while running 3. +8 on block, great. Wall splats, knocks down on hit. His jab is crazy. Like most jabs, it is +1 on block, but +8 on hit. And it's the same for 1-1. This is also +8 on hit. Down forward 1, also +8 on hit. He has a 13 frames mid poke and another 13 frames mid poke, which gives... This move doesn't give as much plus frames on hit, but it eliminates a lot of crushing. So if you play against characters like Eddie or Xiaoyu, this is your go-to mid. Crazy frames. He can be very safe and very oppressive. He has a lot of good tools with great frames. He has excellent throw game. He has this here is a 2 break, this here is a 1 break, 1+2 break, also 1+2 break. So you have a full throw mixer. As I said earlier, you need execution to do it, but he has it. It's just a matter of work. He has great space control like all Mishimas because of his wave dash, his electric, his forward 2. This is a great mid poke tool. Just look at the range. There's also wall splits at the wall. He can stop people from sidestepping with a lot of good moves. Great space control. Really great. He has good whip punish tools for long range. Just look at the range of this move. I should say about this. No. So if you want to punish a Death Fist, this is your go-to move. Great space control. If you have good movement, of course. He has good poking, especially compared to Kazuya. Have 13 frames down forward 1. He has a dig jab, a classic down 4. He has down back 2, which is reactable for good players, but you can still use it against good players from time to time. This gives +3 on hit and is a high crush. This is also a high crush. Jab is good. So he has excellent poking. I mean, he's not as good as poking oriented characters in that regard. His Magic 4 is quite trash, but his down forward 1 is good, especially since it has a mid follow up. Wait a second. Okay, so what are his weaknesses? His first weakness is, as all Mishimas, let me just record it. You will stand guard and then you will sidewalk left. Bad example. As you can see, sidewalk left. Every time. Trust me, this move is linear, yeah, like this. Oh, distracts a bit. Yes. The reason it tracked earlier forward 2 was because it was a forward input and I was inputting it too slowly, but forward 2 is also quite linear. So a lot of his moves are very linear, I mean. So if people sidewalk left, you need to apply other moves like laser scrape or forward 2. Also, people like to crouch against Mishimas, which eliminates your 55th. Okay, crouch guard, sorry. So, sidestep left is very good against Mishimas, also sidestep right duck immediately is very good, but I will not go into that further here. This is just a general weakness he has, but only good players know how to use this one. The general problems you will have is if people sidewalk you, or if people excessively duck and have good mind games and anticipate your hell sweeps by ducking or by hop kick. Another weakness, he's very weak against strong oppressive pressure like Steve, for example. Steve is one of the worst matchups Devil Jin has. And why is that? Steve has extremely good counter hit tools which launch you 11 to 12 frames fast. So against such characters you can't hell sweep. His 50-50 only works when your opponent is not pressing buttons, which most of the time works after you've conditioned them to not press buttons by successively punishing them and stopping their aggression. But some characters like Steve, they will never stop attacking you because that is their game plan. They will be more defensive if you condition them, but they will still be more aggressive than other characters. So your 50-50 is very limited against those characters. And in general, he has a couple of panic moves. He has this up 4 move. This move is, I would say, if you start out with Devil Jin, don't mindlessly abuse this move, but keep it in your head. This is good to throw out once every couple of matches to keep your opponent on its toes, because this move evades a lot and it's a mid launcher, so you can even use it as a 50-50 if you're unsure about using up forward 4 or you're not good enough yet to do an instant while standing 2. And even in the open you can use it, but this can be punished very heavily by good players and it is a bad habit to fall into to spam up 4. He also has an armor move, a power crush parry, a dig jab, and yeah, down 4 or whatever. So he has a couple of panic moves which gives him the opportunity to escape pressure, but generally if you play against a character that has great pressure, all Mishimas, especially Devil Jin, are very vulnerable to that. Especially if they lock you down, because then you can't like dash away or move around, and Steve in that regard is even worse because Steve is very hard to whiff punish, and if you can't whiff punish a character and can apply 50-50, all you have left is character knowledge and punishment. So against characters like Steve, all you have left is maybe try to get away from him and use a bit of 50-50, or just knowing the character and playing great mind game. So The next thing I will talk about is mindset, and this is before I talk about his moves, because this is the most important thing I have. So, one quick thing I want to talk about, and I already made a video on that called Don't Spam Electric Wind Godfist. It's on my channel, you can watch it anytime. I will try to summarize it as quickly as possible. One thing many Devil Jin players fall into, one bad habit, is they see a thing and they react always the same. They either do a health sweep or an electric. This has two reasons. First, they practice those moves a lot, so they have it in muscle memory, and oh no, this... I will show you an example on how this usually affects. Let's see, what is a good... yeah. Okay, so you see a move like this, and a good Mishima player will act accordingly to the mistake your opponent is doing, which means you punish it the right way. But bad Mishima players, I mean especially somewhere between first dan and early yellow rank, have this bad habit of like panicking and doing a flowchart. But how should I put it? It's not a flowchart whereas they do a certain sequence of moves, it's just they see something and they react with a panic expression by either doing electric out of place or just spamming electrics on range 3 for no apparent reason, or health sweep. So I will just recreate a couple of situations and you will see, maybe you're familiar with that. Opponent does thing, you do electrics. Sorry? Stuff like that. Opponent does thing, you health sweep. Opponent whiffs, you health sweep instead of launching him for him. This is what you should be doing. Opponent is doing an extremely launch punishable move. I know I'm over exaggerating, but this is a common problem with Mishima players, and it's out of two reasons. First, like all new players, you're overwhelmed what to do and you fall into bad habits. Secondly, there is this overemphasis on electric and Godfist when playing Mishimas, and I'm not trying to attack the main man personally, but I think he's a great reason why a lot of new players, they see him and he's very proud of his execution, and they think, aha, good execution equals being good at the game. Electric is hard, if I can do electric, I'm a good player. No, electric is a tool like any other. If you happen to fall into this bad habit of using it without thinking why you're using it, this is bad and it will hinder your progress. So, while watching this guide and while playing Devil Jin, I want you to actively always think why you just used an electric or any move you use, and only do it for a reason. And this will help you immensely. And I really recommend you to watch my other video on this topic, because I have like 6 or 7 minute video about this topic, and then I go into this whole problem way deeper than here. But this is the first thing about mindset. Don't rely so much on blindly doing health sweeps and electrics, use them for a reason. Right next to the topic, next big problem a lot of people have is this huge obsession with 50-50 with Devil Jin on all missions. His 50-50 is great, but it's not everything. If you just focus on 50-50 alone, you will have two problems. First, you get carried by his 50-50 and you end up in a skill level where everybody will outplay you. And second, if you don't know why you use something and just get carried by it, you fall into bad habits and then you get frustrated. So use his 50-50 any way you want, but try to not be reliant on it, and try to learn the other part of Devil Jin. Because Devil Jin is not good because he's 50-50, he's good because he has a good character. His 50-50 is only here to open up your opponent, because he doesn't have very oppressive mids. So he has to rely on something that keeps people ducking, which are his throws and his lows. Use it as a mechanism for that. And the last thing before I come to the technical terms is the general mindset. If you play Devil Jin, I see a lot of people who have this Mishima elitism, and this is bad for two reasons. Reason number one, it puts a bad light to all Mishima players. Because people get this view of Mishima players being arrogant, thinking they're the best, and that Mishima characters are so hard and only Mishima players are real Tekken players. this is a bad attitude to have, you won't get any friends with this, and you will look like a moron when you go to locals or tournaments. And it's not true, that's the most important thing here. And the other thing is, it hinders your progress. If you see, for example, a Alyssa, and you think, oh no, Alyssa is a cheap character, oh no, I ain't gonna learn to get playing against her, I'm a lap character. The way you should approach the game is, this character right here is strong, and it takes a lot of effort, and I know it can be frustrating, especially if you play with friends and they play easier characters, and they progress through ranks very easily. You will be frustrated, because you will need to put more hours into the game than your friends, because you need this execution. But it is a decision you made, and if you make the decision to play Devil Jin, you know what's coming to you. A lot of hard work, and you will be rewarded, of course, but it's not like a magic whatever. You don't put execution in it and then you are good. You put the fundamental part in it, learning how to do fundamentally things like block, punishing and stuff like that, and you put execution and you get a good character. What I'm trying to say is, you choose to play Devil Jin, don't be salty about other people playing easier characters. And the second part, and this is what is most important, is if you have this mindset that every character in its own way is hard to play and has its weaknesses. First, you don't get salty about losing against a character, and second, because you know that every character is hard to play, you know that there is a reason for it. And if there is a reason for why characters are hard to play, it means they have weaknesses, and these weaknesses you can exploit with Devil Jin. You always have to think, okay, this character, he beats me, this guy beats me so hard. He may be flowcharting, he may be using gimmicks or whatever, but he beats me. But first, how do you beat his gimmicks? And second, what is he afraid of? Why is he pressuring? Maybe he has bad defense. Why is he abusing this move? Maybe he wants to hide something. When is he most uncomfortable? What can I use to beat him? Okay, this opponent always attacks me. Maybe he has bad defense. Okay, this opponent, when I held sweep him, he falls apart. Maybe he has problems with being attacked or has bad Okizeme. This guy never breaks throws. Maybe I can abuse throws. Okay, this character is weak when I pressure him. Maybe he has bad counter hit tools. Okay, this character is really bad when I stay defensive. Maybe he has bad approach tools, like for example Asuka. You have to always think like your opponent. You have to respect your opponent and to understand that it's hard for him to win too. And by understanding that, you learn why it is hard for him and what you can exploit. This is one of the most important things I want to give to you before you start playing Devil Jin, because this will help you immensely. And it's a tool, it's a mindset you should have with every character, but I just want to point it out with Mishimas, because there is a lot of problems I see with young Mishima players who start out with Mishimas. They watch the main man a lot, they have this bad attitude that electrics are super important, Mishimas are real characters, other characters are stupid. Wash it from your brain. Complete blank slate, widen your horizon, and think about the game and your character in a more neutral way. And most important, strip your pride away. You don't need any pride playing any character. Pride means you get salty when you lose because you lost your pride. If you don't have any pride, and think of yourself as not an expert player or a noob, but like a player who wants to progress, you will not get as salty as you do at the moment. And it's a lot of work to get this mindset. I struggled with it myself when I was in green ranks. But if you cast aside your pride, you will progress 10 times as fast. Okay, so now comes the punishes. Let's start with his 10 frame punishment. At 10 frames he has 1-1-2. Noted, hit confirmed this. He also has 1-2-2. So, what is the difference? 1-1-2 knocks down, so you have good 50-50 OP. So, you use 1-1-2 for 25 damage and for the OK. You use 1-2 for 2 more damage if you ever need it. And 1-2 is +4 on hit, if I remember correctly. At least +3. So, when you use 1-2, the opponent is closer to you and you're plus frames. But you cannot hit confirm 1 to 2. Because it starts with 1, 2 and you can hit confirm this. So you only do this if you know it's punishable and you want to have your opponent closer to you for plus frames. What I would recommend using, it may have a bit... The range may be a bit weirder, but I had never had problems with this, is 1 to 4. Yeah, as you can see. At tip range the 4 may whiff, but if you're closer, I would use this for one quick reason, for 2 reasons actually. So 1 to 2 and 1 to 4 are both +3, +4 on hit. But 1 to 2 is -12 on block, so it's -12 punishable, and 1 to 4 is only -10 on block, so this is a bit safer, and it ends with a mid. Yes. So when people like to duck and you accidentally hit something, you at least catch them with the mid sometimes. So if you're very close range, use this, or this if you think it's tip range, for plus frames and to stay on your guard. If you have a move that is -10 and has a lot of pushback, you can use 2-2. Devil Jins 2 is a 10 frames move, which means this is a 10 frame punish, and it gives the most damage with 30. So for -10 moves that you have to punish with more range, use 2-2. So this 10 frame punishment alone is very complicated. So 1-1-2 for knockdown, 1-2 for plus frames, 1-4 for plus frames when they are very close and also mid, and 2-2 when they're a bit far off and you don't know if the 1-1 will connect. This is his 10 frame punishment. Now we're going to go to his 12 frame punish. His 12 frame punish is back 1-2. This is -14 on block, so some characters like Brian or Mishimas can launch it. Don't spam it mindlessly. Use this only as a punish or to play advanced mind games. But I would at first just use this as a way to punish 12 frame moves. You may be thinking, okay, 30 frames, why use this move and not just 2-2? Does the same damage. Okay, first off, this knocks down, and most importantly, and this is why you should try to differentiate between -10 and -12 moves as soon as possible, because this move wall splits, whereas the 1-1-2 does not. You see, that's 63 damage. That's a huge difference. Do you want to have 25 damage in a weird knockdown, or do you want to have guaranteed 63 damage? And this is why you should learn to differentiate between -10 and -12 moves as soon as possible and use the appropriate punish, which is back 1-2. Then for 14 frames and above we have electric. Just to be clear, you will be using electrics for -15 and above moves. You can use it to launch -14 moves too, but this is an advanced technique, you shouldn't worry about it right off the bat. For a -15 launcher, you can use Cassans. This will launch 15 frames moves. But only use this if you know something is launch punishable, and only until you master the electric, because this is launch punishable. It's nothing you should be abusing a lot. It is good for beginners because it's a 15 frame launcher and you don't have to worry about electrics, but this is just a stepping stone, if you know what I mean. So electric is your best launcher and it's safe, plus on block, and this is when you start out to learn the game. I will show you the Can combo later. Then, if you have characters with pushback, just give me a sec. Simple select. Oh yeah, this is new. Let's see if I can find Paul here. Paul, okay, nice. Loading. Okay, so if you have Paul, for example, excuse my poor execution, I'm not a ball player. Okay, this move here is hard to punish. It's basically pseudo safe. So Devil Jin has forward 3+4, which is a good punish for moves like Death Fist or Heihachi's forward 2. I will show you. Where is my best friend Heihachi? Here he is. So forward 3+4 is your block punish against moves that are minus on block but have a lot of pushback like Death Fist or Heihachi's forward 2. Okay, let's get my boy Devil Jin back here. So this covers his standing punishment. I mean, one more thing. Down forward 4 and down forward 4 are 13 frames, okay? So there are a couple of specific moves like Eddie has, which are minus 14, but high crush on recovery. So you have to use moves like this. Don't spam tsunami kicks. This on block is launch punishable. If you're unsure, just do down forward 4. And if you're sure to down forward 4, and if you are if you played character a bit more best, like more experience with Devil Jin, you should learn how to hit confirm this. Let me just go down to the lowest block. You can hit confirm this, you see? You can delay it, and if you have good reaction, you can hit confirm this move. But this is not super important right off the bat. You should focus on that later on. I just want to note that if you have problems punishing moves because they high crush, you may try to use this move as a punish. Let's go over his while standing punishment, okay? For 11 frames, he has while standing 4 or while standing 4-4. Which gives you nice 29 damage, but you can also, instead of doing the full string, use while standing 4 as a poke or as a mini punish, because this gives you +8 on block, and I will come to that later. So remember, while standing 4 gives +8 on block. 1, 1, 1, and down forward 1 also give +8 on hit. On hit, I mean. Remember that, I will be going over that quite soon. This is very important for later. Then he has, for 13 frames, while standing, while standing 1-4, or while standing 1-1. Okay, come on, my boy. While standing 1-4 gives you a wall split. Again, same as while we were standing. Try to differentiate between -11, -12 moves and -13, because if a move is -13, you should apply this. It does more damage and it gives a wall split. And don't spam this just for fun. I see a lot of low rank players do this. The second hit is stackable. If you want to spam it, mix it up with while standing 1 and 2. Then we have for 15 frames. What is 15? For 15 frame moves, you have while standing 2. This is a 15 frames launcher. It is an instant screw, so it limits the amount of combos you could make. I'll go over that later. And if you have like a stagger low, and by stagger low I mean lows like this where he visibly staggers, Snake Ash Hell Sweep, you can crouch cancel electric. This is done by inputting forward and then electric input. So this is something you should learn around yellow ranks. It's not really hard, it sounds harder than it actually is. But if you want to get like a real hard punish for a low, you should learn how to do this every time. I'll tell you, it's the videos, man. Trust me, it's not hard, this is just the recording software messing up my input delay. So... and that is quite a difference in damage. So... this is his while standing punishment. You have for 11 frames while standing for 4, for 13 frames while standing 1, 4, and for 15 frames this, and if you want to have a get punish like a crazy electric, crouch cancel electric. Let's see what's on my list. Okay, let's go over his good moves. So, one of Devil Jin's best moves is his jab. His jab has great range, you can use it for a lot of combos, as filler. Great range for punishing, and also, and this is the most important thing, this is +1 on block, but +8 on hit. And we will need this for frame traps and 50-50 later on. Then he has 1-1, which is great out of two reasons, because 1-1 is also +8 on hit, and you can use it for 50-50 later. And you can use it to hit confirm 1-1-2. If you just want to poke or to punish, 1-1 on itself is safe and -1 on block. So it's not plus on block. If you want to stay positive while poking and you expect your opponent to block, try using a single jab instead of 2 jabs. But if you connect them, they're still +8 on block, on hit, and you can hit confirm into 1-1-2. Then he has 1-2, which is also good. It is +5 on hit, and you can decide to either do 1-2-3 for a. This is +3 or +5, around +3, +5 on block. So you can use it for frame traps, especially in lower ranks, and even in higher ranks if you mix it up properly. By either doing 1-2 and then ducking, because people will try to jab you out of it, this is interruptible, or 1-2-4 if you're cocky. But yeah, also very good. Down forward 2, down forward 1, a great move, this is great. It is a 13 frames mid poke with great range. Just look at the range here. Yeah, great range. And if people block it, you can challenge them by doing the follow-up, which is also very delayable. You see? So if you use it if you use it the correct way and mix up second hit, great tool. You can discourage your opponent from countering you or attacking you very good with this move, and it's great checkup. It's +8 on hit. The 1-2 variant is only +3 on hit. Still good. Great poking move. Down forward 2. This is a 15 frames counter hit launcher. This is great, and this is also safe on block. This is safe on block, although very minus. On hit it is +5 I think, still good, and on counter it launches. So if you want to poke out your opponent, see if he presses stuff, use this move. Great counter hit. Didn't mean to. Down forward 4, okay? Down forward, yeah. Sorry, I meant up forward 4. Let's start again. Yes, down forward 4 or down 4. Doesn't seem very crazy. It's a move. This is my favorite low with Devil Jin out of 2 reasons. It's fast and it high crushes. So if your opponent is jabbing a lot, you can use this to go under these jabs. And it creates a weird situation because after this move you are forced crouch. This move is -2 on hit, so you don't get any plus frames, but you're crouching. And your opponent, it's a mind game, he either jabs you out of it or does a very quick mid. But if he does a quick high or something, you can just do another one, whatever you want, because you're still ducking. Or you can just bait out the high and then launch him for it. And if he doesn't challenge you or does slow moves, you might be -2, but you can still do a while standing 4, which would be 13 frames in this scenario, and beat him out of it and apply 50-50. So great move, great way to close rounds, great entry poking tool. Really one of my favorite moves. Don't underestimate this low. Then we have back 4. Back 4 is an excellent move. Back 4 is an 17 frames counter hit mid. You get full combo if it counter hits. And this is one of its best uses. Let me just record it a bit. Lying, where is it? Not set, not set. Okay, so when your opponent is lying on the floor, except from this angle, you can flip him over. This hits grounded and gives you good OK. Just be reminded that the hitbox of this move can be a bit weird, as you can see. It hits under certain angles, it does not hit. It doesn't hit when you're exactly between his legs, because your leg will go through his leg, and it doesn't work on certain angles. But most of the time it will hit. Yeah, for example here. The reason why this move is so good is you have the strong 50-50 with Devil Jin, and people are afraid to stand up, because if they stand up they get hit by his 50-50. But if they keep lying down, his 50-50 is not really dangerous. So to stop people from lying down, you have to use this move. And if they try to, let's just say, yeah, if they try to make a wake-up kick, you counter hit them for a full combo. Great move. And also, and this is the moment I've been waiting for, I will go into this even more directly in a couple of minutes, but just so you understand why the +8 thing is important. This 17 frames, and all this keep staying, man. Okay, back to business. All these moves here are +8, which means this 17 frame startup move becomes 9 frames fast, which means you cannot jab through it, and because if you do this move from close range, it's very hard to stop. This means you can't interrupt this move with a jab, and you can't step it. So your only options as an opponent is to either block it or do something advanced. For example, you can parry it. Yoshimitsu should be able to flash it. You can power crush it if you're... You can't really power crush it, but you can parry it. So there are some options your opponent has, but in general, if you hit one of these moves and you want to apply 50-50, you can do a back 4, which is uninterruptible, and your opponent has to block. If he doesn't block, this happens. And once he stops pressing buttons, you can 50-50 him, because he will be staying there. And he will either duck, which then he will get hit by the back 4, or he will not duck, and you can hell sweep him. So all these +8 moves, super good for 50-50, and I will go over that again. Just remember it. This is your +8 50-50 enforcer. Laser scrape, okay. This move is the move that you will be using most often to keep people from stepping you, because, okay, this is a low, this is a high, it is steppable. So people will try to step you, and you will use laser scrape. Just a couple of stuff here. You should use laser scraper in a smart way. The first hit is -7 as far as I remember, so it is safe. But you effectively lose your turn in theory, but you can still pressure after this move, because this may be -7, but it has a follow-up, okay? So if people know this move, they won't always press after it, because they will fear the second hit. The second hit is -10 to -9, so it is jab punishable by most characters depending on range. So this is technically unsafe, but almost nobody will challenge it. Maybe if you get very predictable with it, because this also has a third follow-up, which is the 2 version. And why is this so good? Okay, let's see. It wall splats. Also, you have this option. So just to go quickly over it. Back forward 1, 2, 2. Sorry, back forward 2, 1, 2 is safe on block and has pushback. But it can be stepped to the left. Let me just record it. Okay. Alright. Okay. Like that. As you can see, on block it can be stepped and launched. The timing is a bit tight, nothing too crazy. Oh, come on. Trust me, it is very easy, it's just recording a video and you have that luck. Okay. So, this is the full string and the last hit is steppable. And good players, around orange rank, people will start trying to step this. So don't get overly predictable, and especially when you play against Geese and Jin and Asuka, don't spam this move because they really love to parry it. It's their mindset, they have this, especially Geese has this crazy parry and Jin the same where they get full combos. They have a high probability of trying to parry the last hit. So you should try to bait them out by only doing the first 2 hits and then electricking or doing another one to stop them sidestepping or parrying it. One good thing to know, if the second hit if you get a hit on the second hit, you cannot step it. I will show you. So okay, I will show you. I will not get hit by the first 2. Yeah, you cannot step it. And you cannot interrupt it. So when the second hit or the first 2 hits connect, it becomes unstoppable. So all your opponent can do is hold back. And the best thing, and you can hit confirm this, when the second hit gets a counter hit, the last hit is guaranteed. You see, if the second hit is a counter hit, the last hit is guaranteed. Usually you will be using the 2-1-2 variant, which is this here. But if you have a read on somebody or you confirm that it is a counter hit, like for example this, you can use the down forward 2 version, which looks like this and is a full launcher. Okay. You also have this version, but I don't see any reason to use it. I mean, the main thing is this here is safe and gets your wall split, but not a combo, and this one is unsafe, but it gets you a combo, and this one here gives you nothing much, and it's still safe, but I think the 2 variant is better. But all 3 of those options are steppable to the same side, so when your opponent blocks the first 2 hits and tries to step you, no matter what you do, it's the same step. So you still have to worry about people stepping the last hit. It's all mind games, okay? But this is a top move. You will be needing this move a lot. Another good move is forward 2. So about appliances of those moves. When do we use forward 2 or laser scraper most importantly? At the wall, because people here at the wall, they're sitting here and thinking, oh no, he will do a 50-50, I will sidestep left. And if this sidestep left, you want to catch them with homing moves. Forward 4 is great, I will come to this move. Or you will stay at a distance, let them whiff, and poke them safely with a forward 2. This move is great, this is a wall split. And even in the open, in neutral, just look at the range of this move. This move is safe, it is linear, so very linear, so your opponent can step it with good timing, but really good move. Great for poking on huge distances, great at the wall because it wall splats. Forward 2 is one of your greatest moves. Use it to poke. If I play on range 1, 2, 3, I like to use forward 2 and down 3 as my primarily pokes. And maybe close in with a down forward 2 sometimes. So forward 2, great move, you should use it, it's safe. A bit linear, but it's not the end of the world. Then we have forward 4. This move is good for a couple of reasons. First, it's homing, that's great. Second, it's +5 on block. Let me just tell this guy that he needs to block. It has a lot of pushback though, so in the open there's not much you see it whiffs. But at the wall it becomes much stronger, just like electric, because suddenly he is not far away from you. So this is basically like a non-launching electric wind God Fist, frames wise. It's a high, so it can be ducked. And one good thing, it is your... Okay. Please stop blocking, mate. It is your screw attack, and if your opponent jumps and you catch him mid-air, if you happen to hit him, it will screw instantly. Good move to use. Don't abuse it, especially if you like to head sweep electric a lot, because it is a high, and if your opponent is already inclined to duck a lot, this gets ducked quite often. Then we have one of my favorite moves. I will stop attempting this version. While running free, okay? This move is great. Why is it great? I will show you. Just pray for me that my execution suffices for this test. Yes. As you can see, I jabbed him, he sidewalked left, and I hit him. Why is that? Because this move is only stable to the right, so it covers Devil Jins' weak side. This is one core reason why you should use this move. And by use this, I mean learn how to instant while running. There are two versions you can do, the usual stuff with hitting forward 3 times. Sorry. Yeah. Or you have a shortcut with the wave dash like this. You can also just use it normally out of running, but don't get overly predictable with this. Because even if your opponent steps to the left, if you are very predictable and he times it well, it can be stepped to the left. But usually it tracks really good to this direction. So this is your #1 incentive move to keep people from always sidestepping left on wake up or in neutral when you try to approach them with wave dashes or just running into them. Next thing, this move is +8 on block, and this is crazy. Just let me... Is it... Okay. I want you to stand guard. And it leaves your opponent a range where you can actually hit counter hit launchers. Your opponent may backdash and whiff punish you for it, but it is much better than forward 4 in that regard. While running free, good move also. At the wall with you. This wall splits. Great move. So while running free, use it with Devil Jin. Great plus frames, wall splat, tracks to your weak side. And just for Kazuya players out there, this move, if you master instant while running with Kazuya, your opponent goes from 0 to 10. Great. I just tell this to all Kazuya players. So what else do we have? Okay. Dick jab. Don't underestimate a simple dick jab. In Devil Jin's case, it's down back 1. This move is good for 2 reasons. It's a 10 frames move that high crushes, and it gives you good on hit frames. So if this hits, you are +6, which means your opponent can interrupt your while standing 4, and if he presses buttons you can even use while standing 3, or in this case while standing 1-4 because he's on the wall, whatever. Basically, if you are under pressure, this is a good panic move because it high crushes and it is super fast. It's like a jab, but only that it high crushes. Minus point being it's a special mid. If you don't know what a special mid is, a special mid is an attack that can be guarded, standing and blocking and low parry. So this only hits when your opponent is pressing stuff. But just remember it, this is a great out of jail card. Really good. And while we're on the topic, down one, this is Power Crush. It's a good Power Crush. I mean, relatively, it wall splats. At the wall it's good. Like all Power Crushes, if you are under pressure you can use it. This is unsafe on block, so don't press it all the time, but if you have a hard read or want to get out of jail, use this or Dick Jab or his parry. Let's go to his parry. His parry is very unique. It's an armor parry, which means if your opponent presses stuff, just let me think of something. Okay, this might be good. Okay. As you can see, you get damage and you armor, it's like an armor move, but at the end you reverse that damage to your opponent and send him flying. So the minus point is it's a bit slow and you get damage. Plus point, because it is a very specific armor parry, it can parry stuff that a lot of characters cannot. For example, Giga's Rage Drive is a joke when you play Devil Jin because you can parry a lot of his options. And a lot of other stuff can be parried with this, for example, swords, knees, whatever, because normal parry rules don't apply to this one. But still, you get damage, and like all parries, don't abuse this because it is easy to whiff punish and it has obviously shit range. So when you are under pressure, your three main goals, your three main panic moves are Dick Jab, Power Crush, and yeah, parry. Also down 4 is quite good. But yeah, those moves you use when you're under pressure. What else do we have? Down 4, I've already talked. Down 3, okay. Good low pokes. So what good low pokes do you have with Devil Jin? You have, as I mentioned, down 4, down back 4, yeah. Then you have down back 2. This move is great, it is reactable, so don't abuse it a whole lot against good players, because this has slow startup, you may get counter hit, and good players are able to react to this and low parry. Also, don't abuse this low, down back 2 against Kazuya, because this move is minus 13 and he can launch it. But it is plus 3, so you have a lot of mind games here, you can whatever, you know. I will go over that in a couple of minutes. But apart from these moves, and of course Hell Sweep, one of your best lows is down 3. This move has good range, it tracks a bit to both sides, so it's a good Okizeme tool, and it is only minus 1, and it leaves your opponent at the ideal range. Why is this range ideal? Because a lot of people see this range and they will attempt to use slow moves instead of fast moves. So you can like trick them by doing this and a down forward 2 or this, and jab or this into a high crush. Because this move is minus 1 on hit, so you are not on plus frames, but because of the space you created, you have a lot of room to think of your next move and maybe abuse the thing that they want to do, slow moves to do a counter hit launch. Just experiment a lot with this move. You can also this and a backdash and launch them for a whiff. Down 3 is a good move, does 14 damage, that's good. Down 3, good move, you should use it. But when you start off with Devil Jin, try to concentrate on down 4, down back 2 and Hell Sweep. Down 3 comes down to positioning, so this, you should learn how to use this move effectively, but using this move effectively is a bit harder than using the other moves. Okay, then we have down back 2. As I told you before, this move is plus 3 on hits. It is minus 13 on block, whereas this is minus 12, so against Kazuya you use this move, he can launch it. But this move is minus 13, so Kazuya and Eddie can launch it. It's a bit riskier, but it is a high crush. It does 15 damage, it's one more than down 3. And you are crouched and +3. And your opponent is also forced crouching. So what does that mean? You both are crouching and you are 3 frames ahead of him. So if you do a while standing 4, and he presses stuff, your while standing 4 wins. If you do while standing 1-4 and he presses stuff, you win anyway. And if he uses, if he really likes to just press buttons like hop kicks, you can even launch him for it, but this is risky. What I recommend you doing is do this move once and then either do nothing and see what he does, like this and then go back, or you do this once and do a while standing 4 and see if it hits. So your opponent either does nothing, which is good, because this means you can apply mix-ups, hell sweep, because he's hesitating. When your opponent hesitates, you get 50-50. Or he's pressing buttons. This is also good for 2 reasons. When he's pressing buttons, you can get a while standing 4, which is +8 on hit, and get 50-50. Or you can straight up go for the launch if you're confident. So look what your opponent is doing. If your opponent is not attacking, apart from using 50-50, you can also start pressuring him with your excellent throw game. Sorry. Yeah, but so if your opponent is doing nothing at all, you can 50-50, or you can throw him until he gets nervous, and once he gets nervous, you collect your plus frames or your 50-50. I mean, your plus frames, you know what I mean. So this is a great checkup tool. This is great to get a read on your opponent, to see how they react to pressure. You can even do stuff like this until they snap and start pressing buttons. And it is a high crush move, so great to use. Then we have one of these other great moves, Hell Sweep. Why is Hell Sweep good? First off, Hell Sweep does a lot of damage. Especially if you get a wall combo. Sorry. This thing is a bit weird here. Let me think. Yeah, you get what I mean. You get good damage if it floor breaks. So on this stage, where is it? Restart settings, restore gimmicks. So on this stage, if you do the full hell sweep, I mean crouch dash 4-4, you'll get floor break. That's great. Oh, I didn't want to. So on floor break stages, this move is crazy good. It can be used as a combo filler or as an Oki tool. And yeah, it's a great low with huge damage, great wall carry, and on certain stages it even floor breaks, so your opponent is always in fear of your hell sweep and he will try to outmove you by sidestepping or just mindlessly attack you or force you to block so that you cannot apply it. Especially in low ranks, a lot of people are playing really aggressively against Mishimas because they fear the hell sweep. And when somebody is attacking mindlessly, he makes mistakes which you can use. So even if you're not the type of player who likes to abuse 50-50 all that much, you should still use it every now and then to remind your opponent that you have it, so that they get more nervous and do a lot of mistakes. Great move, great move. And it harmonizes well with his next top move, which is up forward 4. Because this is a low, this is a mid, both are unseeable and the mid is safe. What is so great about up forward 4? Let's start with what is bad about this. This move is quite minus on block, so if you use this on block, your turn is over. And it is linear, so your opponent can step it in both directions. But what is good about this move? First, it low crushes, so you can jump over lows with it if you have read something. Second, you jump, so if your opponent attacks you, you might fuck up his combo because you're in airborne status. And lastly, if you do this... Sorry. You get a guaranteed forward, you get a guaranteed back 4. If your opponent doesn't respect this and stands up, you can time it. Just give me a second. This is hard to do. Yeah. If your opponent doesn't respect it and you have good execution, you can launch him for it. But in general, if this move hits, you get a guaranteed back 4, which gives you great Oki for 50-50. So once you hit this move, you get a lot of great 50-50. And it's really not hard to hit, just remember I'm recording this, so I have a lot of input delay at the moment. This is really easy to do, and you get a guaranteed back 4 for crazy Oki. Then we have Crouch Dash Freezer. This is an Oki tool if your opponent is standing up. Oh, one last thing. If you happen to hit Hell Sweep on tip range so you cannot pick it up, you have this setup. You see? Crouch Dash into Crouch Dash 3. And if your opponent is standing up and not side rolling, you get a combo. Good setup, you should remember that, sorry. Then to Crouch Dash 3. Crouch Dash 3 is a very linear move, and it launches a normal hit. So yeah. This move can be used as an Oki tool. Also it low crushes because it's jumping. It's good for Oki. And it is also good to, if you're like in range 2 and you want to whiff punish something, or just on prediction you want to poke him a bit with a launcher, you can use this. Just be aware, this is easy to step, and if you conditioned your opponent to step you already, try not to use it until you recondition them to not step. But if your opponent is conditioned to stand still, great move, safe on block, good to use. Electric Wind Godfist. Okay. Electric Wind Godfist is a launcher, so you get a combo on hit. It is +5 on block, so in the open field you create a lot of space. Lot of space. If your opponent presses buttons, just whiff punish it. At the wall, it is extremely good. An electric is theoretically steppable to the left, but in Season 2 they buffed the range of the electric, so it's much harder. So you can view it as an almost homing tool, and especially at the wall. Sorry. You can chain those electrics all day, except when you're playing on input delay. But it's really not that hard if you have somewhat practiced Mishimas. Come on, man. What I'm trying to say, at the wall, this is a +5 high, which is 14 frames startup, which means if you have perfect execution, your opponent has no other choice than to either parry or duck it. So yeah, it becomes crazy good at the wall. It is an excellent whiff punisher. It is a good launcher, it's a safe launcher. And you can, this is advanced, this is mainly a thing you will use in online play. You can use it in offline play too, but it's much harder to use. It's, you bait your opponent into punishing you by doing electrics at range 3 and then doing a counter hit launcher. This is a common bait people make, but you have to have good positioning and know your opponent. How fast does he react on stuff? Is he trigger happy? And depending on his reaction, you position yourself in a way that it gets hard to punish, and then you can bait him into a counter hit. So, but that is the application of electrics. You use it for combos, for launching, and for pressuring at the wall. If you can hit an electric often enough to do these things, you don't have to worry about doing 5 electric wind godfist combos or whatever. Really basic. Next on my list is up forward 3. This move is super linear, low crushes because it's jumping, and it is plus on block. So you can use this, it is plus 3 as far as I remember, so you can use it to get a down forward 1, or try to stop him from moving by doing a laser scraper. But remember, this is linear, so if your opponent is stepping, don't use it all too much. And it is a counter hit launcher, which is also good on itself. Yes, so good move to apply pressure. Just note it if you need plus frames, this move. Up 4, okay. Up 4 is a good move. It's like Devil Jin's hop kick. You use it for 2 reasons. One, you have a hard read that your opponent is going to press some stupid jab or whatever, and you can crush it with the high crush ability of this. And number 2, it evades a lot of stuff, and you can make your opponent second guess himself if you use it sparingly and unpredictably. I will come to that later too. So you can use this move out in the open, like at this range, if you think your opponent is going to attack. Or you can use it as Oki, if he's actually standing up, I mean. Let's say he's standing up with a mid kick. Okay. Yeah. You can use it as an Oki too. Yeah, but try to tone it down a bit. It's a bad habit to always spam up 4, it limits your growth as a player. Good players will punish you very hard for this. And it should really be reserved for being unpredictable. Just get your opponent to respect you a bit more. Like a keep out tool, you know what I mean. Don't make this the whole existence of your offense. It's like Asuka's back 3. Good to have, it makes your opponent second guess himself, and you can get a lot of launches if you apply it cleverly, but don't get reliant on that move. And last but not least, while standing 4. This is a great mid poke. As you can see, you can do stuff like this and use it as a mid poke, and it is great as a while crouching mid poke and as a while standing punish because of the +8. You know what I mean, +8 is good. It's 50-50 for us. Last but not least, for sure this time, his throws. I'd already told you he has this throw as a 2 break, and as you can see, this throw floor breaks. Then he has complicated wire, if I input it correctly, yes. This is a 1 break, and then he has his super cool laser throw, which is a 1+2 break. All of these throws are super good. If you want to know how to apply them, you can just do them like you always would, but you can also use kinda king strats like jab, and then do a forward 2, or use the jab to buffer your big dick laser. You can also buffer it here. So you can use a couple of moves with long wind-up times to buffer more complex inputs like this. But try to apply his great throw game. Really great. It takes execution, but it is great. Let's see what's next on my list of cool things to tell you. Okay. Next we go to combos. I will just show you the combos I use. If they are too hard for you or you want to do more damage, I will show you my basic combos and a couple of big dick combos, and hopefully I will hit them with this delay. But if you want to have a couple of easier combos, there are guides for that. But these are bread and butter combos you should be able to use, especially when you're around yellow rank level. These should be your bread and butters. First wall electric, we have forward, 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 and this whole lot, and ending with this, and wall combo. I will switch stage. This is a bad stage to show it. Oh, let me think, what is a good... I know. Let's go on Negan stage. Hopefully we get good wall carry here. So this is my bread and butter I'm using. Another possibility, which I use because I'm used to playing Kazuya, is double electric. This is good for Oki, and because... Let's talk about enders, okay? Your default ender will be forward 3+4 because it has the most wall carry, but your optional enders are, and I will show them to you here. Back to 3 for super good Oki. So if you want good Oki... Sorry? If you want good Oki, use this ender. And if you want a really high wall split and a bit better Oki, use this ender. Ah, wait, wrong combo. Laser scraper, but with the down forward 2 extension. Okay, but this is the heal range. As you can see, you get a really high wall split, and out in the open you get good Oki because it takes a while before he comes down. For best Okizeme, this is really highly technical. I don't know of anybody who actually uses this, and I will try to replicate it even with the delay, is an instant while standing 2. No? Come on. This is your best Oki setup, because his face down feeds towards you. This is the best ender you can use. I personally don't really use this because I don't know of any easy mode way to implement this aside from crouch cancelling, and it is not really fun, and you will drop it a lot. If you find a combo where you end up in crouching position during the combo, you use this. This is great. And one last ender you might be using is this one, Heaven's Gate, which is also a wall combo, but I will come to this later. So your electric wind combos, your main combo should be forward 2 into this stuff, and then ender of your choice. If you want to be more technical and get a bit more damage, you can do double electric into up forward 2. Also gives more carry. And if you want real big dick combos, and I hope I get this the first time here, this is not ultra hard to hit. I say I'd hit it up around 80% at the moment. If you practice it, you can hit this very likely. It's not so hard. Just remember, I have a lot of delay. It's double electric and forward, oh, come on. Yeah, like this. I need to dash deeper here. still a bit deeper. Yeah, like that. So this is your strongest, reasonably easy electric combo. It does 75 damage plus wall damage, blah blah blah. But I would recommend sticking to the bread and butter I showed you earlier, or if you want more damage, doing the double electric up forward 3 variant, up forward 2 min. This is more reliable. Crouch dash 3, okay, your crouch dash, you have two options for crouch dash 2 combos, crouch dash 3 combos. Number 1 is the basic stuff, the same one you will use for your health sweep. It's this here. And you use the same combo for your health sweep. Your other option, if you hit it very close, is big jab while standing 2 and yeah, the rest as usual. Also ender of your choice here. You can do all the under enders. Then what else do we have? Your health sweep combo I already showed you. This is the staple. If you want an easier staple, it's doing this. Wait a bit, forward 3. And the proper staple is run into him, jab with 2, and then you're under. If you're very close, you can get this here. Yeah. But this time you do it with down 2, not down back 1, but down 2 with the health sweep. So for the health sweep you use... Sorry, the health sweep you use down 2 for this, if you're very close, and for CD2 you use dick jab with the 1. Remember that. Then, while standing 2 you have... I think the bread and butter I use, if I have bad connection, is electric jab forward 4. If I have not as much delay, I usually do 3 to 5 electrics. I will see how much I get at the moment. Yeah. But 3 electrics is reasonably easy. You get 56 damage, which is way more than you would get from the staple combo. But you don't get a proper wall combo. So for wall combo and wall carry, do the other combo, and for max damage, either do the electrics or Heaven's Gate at the end. Then we have counter hit down forward 2. Okay. You can do this here, auto down forward 2. You can, if you have good execution, you can do this here. You can do this here. Then counter it back 4. You should be able to electric it as far as I remember, but I forgot it. Yeah, you should be able to electric it. Then we have floor break. If you have a floor break, use this as a bound, as a screw move after the floor break for the screw, and then you do the rest of the combo like usual. Wall split combos. But first I want to show you your low parry options. Repeat action. Okay. Your low parry option. This, I will show the easy mode first. Down forward 2 and the rest as usual, or electric and the rest as usual, or if you're really cocky and don't have anything else to do, you can just see how many electrics you can hit. If you hit if you hit 4 electric, it is 42 damage, which is exactly the same as the other staple with the electric. If you hit 5, you get 50. But I rarely hit 5, and it's only do this if you want to style on people, but your bread and butter should look like this. $42 damage, decent wall carry. Let's go over to the wall splits. Okay, shall we? What are your wall split options? Option number 1, laser scraper, and delay the second hit. I will show you the undelayed version, okay? You see 36% and 47 damage. If we wait a bit until he falls to his ass on the wall, we get a bit more unscaled damage, which results in much more damage overall. You see 52 damage and 60% scaling on the last hit. Our next option is the Heaven's Gate, which is crouch dash 1 and then hold up as soon as you hit him. Then we have jab, down 1. This is great. We have jab, back 4, flips over, great Oki. And if you happen to held sweep at the wall, your options are held sweep, 2 back 4s. This gives good Oki and decent damage. And messed it up. So back 4, or held sweep, back 4, power crush. This gives usually more damage but less, like worse Oki. Okay, now we covered all his basic bread and butter combos you should be able to do. Let's go over to the +8 stuff. So whenever you get this, I will record it. Okay. Whenever you get a jab hit, like all these moves I told you, jab, 1-1, down forward 1, while standing 4, all these +8 moves are +8, and you have 17 frames back 4. And I will show you, if you get hit by it, you cannot step. Both directions. You cannot press buttons, you get counter hit. You cannot duck. You can only try to parry it. And that's it. So as soon as you hit one of those buttons on hit, you can attempt an uninterruptible back 4, and the only thing your opponent can do is to either hold back or do stuff like parries. I will show you with Devil Jins Power Crush. Even Power Crushes are not fast enough. Okay, they are fast enough, sorry, my bad. But in general, your opponent has to take a risk by doing a Power Crush or a parry. And if he doesn't want to take risks, all he has left is to hold back. And once he starts holding back, you hell sweep. Or apply another low, make him nervous any way you want, but all these +8 moves guarantee you a back 4 that is uninterruptible and unsteppable, and you can use this to condition your opponent to not press buttons and to not move and to guess your 50-50. Whenever you hit one of those on hit, always consider to maybe use them to apply 50-50s. So this is like the +8 holy grail of Devil Jin. This is how I play Devil Jin. This is my main idea with Devil Jin. I look at frames, at hits on block frames, and I play by using frames and mind games. Everybody has his own style, but if you like this kind of playstyle, utilize his plus frame. Next on my list is how to change playstyle. I will show you a couple of various playstyles that contradict each other to some extent, so you can learn how to change playstyle, and you should be able to change between various playstyles on the fly depending on your opponent and on the match as it goes. First one is you can play safe with Devil Jin. You can use moves that are very safe on block, or maybe only -10 or something like this, you can stay safe. You can play very unsafe, very 50-50, very crazy. Sorry. So you can play very safe, very unsafe. You can play very defensively. Eagle yourself, poke your opponent, test the waters out. Or you can play very aggressively. Go into your opponent's face, apply 50-50. All this while standing stuff. Be crazy, okay? Defensive, offensive, safe, unsafe. You can play very pokey with small chip damage. You can use the big guns. And what I mean to tell you is, you can play a very different kind of game with Devil Jin depending on your opponent. You can stay up close, pressure, you can stay on range 2 and farther on, wait until he whiffs and then electric punish. But you should always know how to change your playstyle and don't force yourself into one of those. Maybe you like 50-50, that's good for you, play 50-50. But you should also know how to play without 50-50 if you play against an opponent who has better mind games or great movement. Because if you only know how to play one playstyle, you will die with Devil Jin. This is very important. Learn all these various playstyles and be comfortable to play on all those playstyles. While I'm at it, I forgot to mention this in execution stuff, but you should also be able to play on player 2 set with Devil Jin. So always practice your wave dashes and stuff on player 2 side as well. Yeah. Please don't judge me, I have delay. So yeah, you should be able to do all this stuff on player 2 side as well. Whatever, you get the message. You should be able to play on player 2 side as well, and never underestimate it, so always take a bit of time playing on the other side, maybe switch it up a little, because if your opponent is smart, and a lot of low rank players love to throw you on the other side, then you're dead. So practice this. Back to topic, how do you stop people from ducking? Okay, your people will see these hell sweeps and almost everybody knows use that Mishimas to the left. How do you stop them from ducking? Apply laser scrape, apply forward 4, apply instant while running freeze. Okay. Tracks to this weak side, while standing 2 tracks to his weak side. And that is basically it. Try to use frames, try to step with him, try to wave dash, try to delay your hell sweeps. For example, you see him stepping, wait till he steps and then hell sweep him to put him out of his comfort zone. But you should always think, whenever you do a move that is linear or a 50-50, your opponent will get even more likely to step you. So whenever you do a hell sweep, the probability of your opponent ducking or sidestepping increases. So for every hell sweep you make, you should do at least 3 mids or 3 mid-homing moves to discourage him from ever ducking. This way your hell sweep will be more unpredictable and your opponent is not as much at home when it comes to stepping. So always never forget the problem you have with your strong highs and lows and your 50-50, because your opponent is very inclined to ducking and to stepping, and you have to utilize your mids as good as possible to stop them from doing it. Pressure at the wall, I already mentioned, forward 2, forward 4, electric, hell sweep, down 4, down back 2, all this crazy stuff. Jabbing. You don't want your opponent to get away from the wall. You can sometimes go on range 1, range 2, but only to start abusing forward 2. Whenever they step carelessly or they want to attack, Also, never forget to use throws, this throw wall splats. When your opponent's at the wall, there are two situations where Devil Jin is strong. When your opponent is at the wall and when your opponent is on the ground because of his crazy Oki. Let's talk about his Oki for a bit. What options does he have? He has a Hell Sweep, and he can bait the opponent in standing up. If it's max range for this, he can do it. Okay, your opponent is on the ground, okay? You can Hell Sweep. You can up forward for him if he stands up ducking. You can back for him if he doesn't stand up. Just let me record a couple of scenarios, okay? So your opponent wakes up like this. You can apply a 50-50. Your opponent doesn't care to wake up properly. Back for. Until he wakes up. Back 4 hits very consistently, but sometimes it doesn't hit. You will learn with time when it hits, when it doesn't hit, but trust me, back 4 is a great Oki move. If you don't want to be very risky by applying Hell Sweeps, you can also use down 3 and down back 2 to hit him grounded. And another good Oki tool is crouch dash 3. Let's see. Let's say he makes a wake up low kick after this move. Yeah, what else? Yeah, up 4 as usual. So these are your moves. And at the wall, your Oki at the wall is a bit different. At the wall you can also start applying laser scrapers to stop him from rolling sideways or pressing buttons. One last thing, if the first hit of laser scraper hits you, you get a crumble stun. What that means is you get this animation and you can break the stun by holding forward, which will look like this here. Yeah, this is the broken version. If your opponent knows how to break it, let's set it on counter hit. If your opponent knows how to break it, you get nothing from it. But if your opponent doesn't know how to break it, and a lot of low rank players and even players in higher ranks don't know how, or just don't expect it, so they make an error, you can launch it. But again, this is breakable, this is not a guaranteed combo, this only works if your opponent doesn't know how to break the stun. Yes. Oh, let's see what my smart list has. Okay. One of the last things I want to talk about is general help for low rank players. Just a couple of good tips that you can use at low ranks to abuse a bit with Devil Jin, which may help you out. Because I know that green ranks can be hell. I've been in green ranks for over a year myself. And I will show you a couple of my secret green rank tips. Okay. Most of these moves rely on your opponent being ignorant of the matchup. So, this move here, 1, 2, 4. This move gives you a combo on normal hit. So if your opponent presses into the third hit here, you get a combo. And on block, it is +3 to +5 on block, which means the following flowchart is, just so you know, the way you deal with this is you can interrupt him. I will record it. So this is the way good players deal with this move. But bad players don't react to it, so they either get hit by it, or they block it and then they want to press. That's a bit too fast. So the trick here is, in low ranks people tend to run into this move, and even when they block the third hit it is plus and block, and you can start laying counter hit launchers, and people don't know about frames, so they will most likely run into your counter hit launchers and pop. Also utilize all the +8 moves I told you about, but against low ranks who like to spam, instead of doing the hell sweep, always do back 4. If they get hit by it, they take damage, and if they counter it, you can get a combo. And even if they block it, you push them away, you see? And it's great distance, and they will use long range, very slow moves, and you can just bait them out with a down forward 2. I will show you how this will most probably look like. So it will look like this in most matches in lower ranks, because people don't know about frames yet. They will block it and they will run into you and do a jab, or just run into you and do something stupid, and you will counter hit them. Even though they are in frame advantage, most of them will first dash into you and then attack, and this creates a lot of space for you to get your counter hit. It sounds counterintuitive, but trust me, it works a lot in low ranks. So a blocked back 4 into a counter hit, or a hit back 4 into a counter hit, is a great tool in low ranks. Abuse while running free, for the reasons I already mentioned. It is plus and block, blah blah blah, and the only way to counter this is to either hit you out of it while you're doing it, or sidestep to the right, and just how many green rank players do that. Basically this move is broken in lower ranks because people don't know how to deal with it. Abuse this. Abuse forward 2. Abuse it a lot. The only way to counter this move is through proper spacing or sidestepping, and most people in lower ranks don't know how to do it. Same with while running free. Abuse throws. Don't be scared to throw people. Abuse throws. When people finally start respecting you, and trust me, I know green ranks, a lot of people never will, apply hell sweeps. Even against people who like to spam, you can apply hell sweeps as Oki. But in the open, when you're neutral and your opponent is not respecting you, don't try to force hell sweeps, just do counter hit launchers and throws until they finally stop pressing buttons. And also abuse laser scraper, they will never step it in low ranks, and it's such a good tool. And last but not least, to get out of green ranks and lower ranks in general, you have these tricks I mentioned, but it's all up to knowledge in the long run. So learn your frames, learn all your opponent's frames, look what is punishable, see how your opponent is playing, look what your opponent has most difficulties with dealing. Does he have problems with Okizeme? Is he afraid of your 50-50? Can he even break throws, abuse throws? Look what your opponent is worst at, abuse it. Learn the game properly, learn how to space yourself, learn great movement, and become a better player in the long term. But you know, I have some tips for you in green ranks that might help you out, but playing Mishimas is hard. And I think I'm almost done with my guide. I just want to have a couple of last words here. I really hope my guide could help you and that you might learn something new from it. I really put an emphasis on actually showing you how to use these moves and why they're good. And I want you to play Devil Jin with a good mindset, have fun, and most importantly, don't worry about unnecessary things. Execution is only a means to an end. Only learn as much execution as you have to. Everything apart from that is just because you want to. But you're not forced to do 5 electric wind godfist stuff. I was like this myself when I was green rank. I was stuck at Brawler for over a year and I could do 5 electric wind godfists in a row and stuff like that. But in the end, do you want to win or do you want to style on people? And if you want to win, only do things that make you win. But at the same time, try not to cheese your way into ranks, try to win them by using your character, but at the same time playing in such a way that you're able to learn and that you're able to progress as a player. So I really hope this guys helped you, and I hope it isn't as long as I predicted to be. I will put timestamps so you can just zap into the parts you really want to know. And I'm very grateful for all the people who follow me and subscribe to me and ask me questions. I'm really grateful for this opportunity to help people. And if there's anything you guys need, just write me directly. I'm very open to make new videos. And yeah, so have fun practicing.